Stuck Boring World Series reviews. It's looking like a rain delay waiting to happen outside here in Chicago, so I think it's time to address the elephant in the room. That's the big circus elephant with the A logo on its banner, the Philadelphia Athletics, the 1911 World Series. Time to get for the green screen and do other stuff that's green and talk about the World Series. A rematch of 1905. This is Connie Mack versus John McGraw, Part 2, The Reckoning, Mack's Revenge, or something like that. You recall the Giants beat the A's. The A's didn't score any earned runs off of the Giants pitching in 1905. So the A's are great again in 1911. They finished 13 and a half games ahead of the Tigers that year. The Cleveland Naps are pretty much taken out of the picture when Hall of Famers Nap LaJoie has tummy problems all year long, I guess, and Addie Joss, Hall of Fame pitcher, dies of an 1800s disease. The Giants, Polo Grounds burnt down that year and got rebuilt. It burnt down in the spring, at one of the first few games of the season. By July, they had it up again, and they called it Brush Stadium for a while after their stupid owner, John T. Brush, the little goblin who helped cancel the 1904 World Series. The 1910 pennant winner, the Cubs, fell apart that season. Johnny Evers, unfortunately, suffering a mental breakdown. Frank Chance, a blood clot in the brain, just really terrible luck. Joe Tinker ended up suspended for lazy play. The dynasty was basically over. The Giants overtook the Cubs to the pennant in August, and then in the home stretch, they won 30 out of 36 of their final games. The Giants were just on fire coming into the World Series. They stole 347 bases as a team that year, just tearing up the base paths, set the record at that point in 1911. And, of course, my best friend, John McGraw, decides to wear black uniforms again like in 1905 because he wants us to know that they're the bad guys, that they're friggin' the anti-heroes or whatever. What a weird team. They have the rough and tumble, 1800s John McGraw little fighting guy attitude, but, their pitching staff, we can't wait to talk about these fellas. I love their pitchers. Something unique about the series is the two pitchers for the New York Giants, Christy Mathewson, Hall of Fame pitcher who I just love to talk about, and Rube Marquard, a young pitcher who had been selected from the minors for the biggest money contract ever, so he had got a lot of flack his first few years, but he had just come through with a huge season in 1911. Both of these guys were given columns in the newspaper to describe the World Series game by game, and so they each had their ghostwriters. Christy Mathewson was writing for the New York Herald while Marquard was writing for the New York Times. These guys are some messy bitches. These guys are divas. This is what this World Series is gonna be about. So game one went to the New York Giants. Christy Mathewson, who had the consecutive scoreless inning streak in the World Series, continued his streak in this game to 28 innings before finally giving up a run. This was a big Chief Bender, Christy Mathewson game. They were 1-1 until the 7th inning when the Giants broke through on hits by catcher Chief Myers, outfielder Josh DeVore. This game was the beginning of some controversy. This little shit-faced outfielder Fred Snodgrass from the Giants, he slides into third baseman Frank Baker from the Athletics. According to Snodgrass, he slid into Baker so hard his pants tore and they had to go get him new pants. So Frank Snodgrass, this little fella, saying he ripped Frank Baker's pants off in the first game with his spikes. I don't know if that happened. I don't know about Fred Snodgrass. A's come back and win game 2, 3-1. This is the first step in the legend of Frank Baker earning his nickname. It's a 1-1 game until the 6th inning. Frank Baker's up against young Rube Marquard. And Frank Baker hits a home run. So one of the themes of this World Series is, what if you hit the ball with the bat and instead of landing in somewhere in the field where you're playing, what if it went out of the field, in the outfield into where the people sat, and then you could go all the way around the bases and score, and no one could throw it and get you out. They found out that was cool and fun in this World Series, where before they, I guess, didn't really like that. So in the news after the game, Mathewson and his ghostwriter, probably both of them, rip on Rube Marquard for his pitch selection to Frank Baker, and said, before the game he didn't listen to John McGraw. So that's just really bitchy, right off the bat. I love Christy Mathewson, future World War I veteran hero. This man, he played professional football as well. I don't know what the Pittsburgh Stars, I don't know what those teams mean. I mean, he played in college too. But this guy's just like an absolute pimp. I mean, damn, that's some catty stuff. Like, that's some high maintenance. He's a diva. I just like him more because of it. Don't get me wrong, but this is different for a World Series. This is a good time. Maddie also complained that the grounds crew of Philadelphia made the base paths wet, so the fast, Giants couldn't steal their famous bases that they saw all the time. So he's off to a fun start here. Then Game 3 cements the legend of Home Run Baker. This is a 3-2 game that goes 11 innings. The A's in the top of the ninth, down 1-0. Christy Mathewson pitching to Frank Baker, who had already punished Rube Marquardt the game before. Same thing. Hits another home run after Mathewson wrote all that stuff about him, about Marquardt. Later, Baker hits a single in the 11th inning and then scores on an error by Giants shortstop Art Fletcher, so he wins the game as well. And the Giants, known for stealing a ton of bases, hadn't been too effective in the previous games. This game was even worse. Connie Mack, for whatever reason, chose to switch catchers up from Ira Thomas, who had started the previous games, for Jack Lapp, their secondary catcher, and then he ends up setting the record with 5 putouts on the base paths from the catchers. He throws out the Giants 5 times trying to take bases, including a game-ending one in the 11th. Completely shut down. I don't love John McGraw. I don't love that there wasn't a World Series in 1904. I bet he doesn't like this home run Baker nonsense. I bet Mr. Small Ball, like Mr. Inside Baseball, didn't love that. But while his pitchers who were the nicest, coolest, like suavest looking dudes, were out there being absolute housewives in the press, he was being Mr. Nice Guy, and he was talking about the A's middle infield, Eddie Collins and Jack Berry, and said that they were like as good as or better than Joe Tinker and Johnny Evers from the Cubs. That's high praise. And then, so of course, Rube Marquardt comes back at Christy Mathewson for nearly the same thing, for not sticking to the game plan, not listening to John McGraw, choosing the wrong pitches, just basically giving him a taste of his own medicine. So it's literally on between those two. Fred Snodgrass slides into Frank Baker, home run Baker, at third base again with his spikes. Everyone is generally of the consensus that he's playing dirty. Jack Holmstrom was an 11-inning 3-hitter here in Game 3, so he's up to his usual World Series stuff. All the stuff with the pitchers bitching at each other and Fred Snodgrass being a little like jerk just get exacerbated because we have a 6-day rain delay, which breaks the series into 2 halves between Games 3 and 4. A's up 2-1. It gives plenty of people to write about what Frank Baker did and how cool this newfangled home run is. Also to just meditate on how all the writing by the pitchers and just to soak up that drama. Fred Snodgrass is also doing like wrestling bad guy promos like in the press, saying, he deserved it. You guys can't get my goat's not for sale. He said his goat wasn't for sale. Fred Snodgrass said his goat wasn't for sale. I guess you can't get his goat. There's some sign stealing stuff going on in the press too. This is just the tabloid World Series. If you say Athletics mascot, it means I have to talk about this mascot. I don't want to talk about this mascot. There's a boy who was like hunchbacked. Louis Van Zelst, who was their mascot. They would rub his hump for luck. There's stuff I don't want to talk about with some of these World Series now that I'm reading a lot of news articles. It's gross. So yeah, there's a hunchback mascot. They're calling people names. They accuse the mascot of sign stealing, and later, I don't know if they were just lying in the press or whatever. They said they knew it was the veteran first baseman Harry Davis for the A's who had picked up on their signs, so they had just stopped using signs, I guess. Davis, who probably wouldn't have been playing in the World Series, he'd kind of become phased out for youngster Stuffy McInnis that year, but he was playing injured, so they didn't really give him much time in the series. I think he only pinch hits 1 time. Yeah, but Davis goes out there and torments them to the point of them making up stories about a hunchback kid. Okay, Game 4. Game 4, we're back from the rain delay. We can stop being obnoxious in the press. The A's win this game 4-2. And take a 3-1 lead in the series. Game starts out with some action top of the first. Triple by Larry Doyle. Sacrifice fly by Fred Snodgrass. Giants get a run right away. Chief Bender gives up 2 runs in that first inning, and then it's just shutout for the rest of the game. You had 3 runs in the top of the fourth. You got doubles by 3 players in the Athletics. You got home run Baker, Danny Murphy, and Harry Davis with doubles. And then a sac fly by catcher Ira Thomas. 3 runs come in that inning. Another run comes in the 5th. Home run Baker, again, this time a double. He's not going to hit any more home runs in this thing. They get really excited about 2 home runs. That drives in the last run. Rube Marquard's a bitch in the press again about Mathewson, saying he seemed tired and wasn't at his best. This kind of reminds me of the Detroit Tigers in the series of like 07, 8, and 9, how a lot of the stories about them were the infighting and being upset about Ty Cobb for various reasons, and then him being justified because he's just an asshole. And they didn't win a single World Series with that team. I don't want to spoil it too much. The Giants are about to win 3 pennants in a row, and this is how we're starting off. Giants get another one in Game 5 against 10 innings. They win 4-3. Rube Oldring from the Athletics, it's a goofy-ass name, hits a 3-run home run in the top of the 3rd. And his nickname's already stupid enough they don't give him a baseball nickname. They get Marquard knocked out in the bottom of the 3rd for the pinch hitter, so he does not have a very good game after being absolutely spicy in the press. RBIs in the bottom of the 9th by pinch hitter Doug Crandall, Josh DeVore from the Giants. They tie it up. And then the Giants walk it off in the 10th. Larry Doyle, double. Fred Merkle, sacrifice fly. Except that we get more stuff in the press after this game. Umpire Bill Clem, another Hall of Famer, this dude, decides to tell the New York Times that, oh, by the way, not that it's any of my business, but Larry Doyle didn't touch home plate, but none of y'all said anything, so I just had to call it a run. Like, everyone in this series. Game 6, the A's just blow them out and take their 2nd World Series in a row, 13-2 win. Bender, 4-hit game here. Giants get a run and an error in the first wild pitch on the 9th. It's like the A's give them a couple, and then just 13 runs they score on their own. The A's rally for 4 runs in the 4th. 3 runs score on an error by Giants pitcher Red Ames. I believe the throw goes offline and hits Jack Barry in the head. So it turns into a Little League homer type of situation where the sack bunt just leads to the bases clearing and everyone scores. So it just falls apart for the Giants in this game. 7-run rally in the 7th inning, 6 singles. Error by Merkle. A wild pitch by Marquard, who comes in relief. Hooks Wiltsey, this reliever, cool name, gives up all 7 runs in the 7th inning. Just gets destroyed. And that's it. And that's the legend of Home Run Baker, man. So Frank Baker, definitely the MVP, as well as the talk of the series. 375 average, 7 runs, 9 hits, 2 doubles. Those 2 home runs we can't stop talking about. 5 runs driven in. And as I said, talk of the series, despite everyone on the Giants' best efforts to make it about themselves. Jack Barry also 368, a couple of doubles, 2 runs driven in. Another great World Series for him. And the vet Harry Davis drives in 5 of the runs despite only batting 208, so major production from him. The Giants, just no real standouts. They hit 176 as a team, so they really couldn't do much. Larry Doyle hit 304, though. I mean, was involved in a lot of their productivity. Their pitching didn't get beat up as bad as like the Cubs did the previous year. They had a 2.83 ERA against the Athletics. No one really got beat up except Hooks Wiltsey in that final game, the 7-run inning with an 18.90 ERA for his short stint there. And then the stolen base situation, they attempt 14 stolen bases, only 4 times successful, including that game with Jack Lapp and 5 putouts. Somehow this record-setting running game just shut down. Christy Mathewson quoted about it in one of his articles. He says, Max pitchers cut their motions down to nothing with men on bases, microscopic motions, and they watch the runners like hawks. This man's a poet, too. Come on, dude. These are some fancy lads. I like them. The takeaway from this is just play baseball. Shut up, please. Or don't. Like, it's really funny when they do that. It's funny when they go play about each other. Yeah, so the Athletics win 4-2, 2nd straight win for the A's. Get revenge for 05. Connie Mack vindicated. Well, that was probably the most fun World Series to talk about because the players themselves made it fun to talk about with their nonsense, with a lot of their writing. My coat is not for sale. And also, it's just fun to talk about baseball and read about it and learn about baseball. 1912. with the Boston Red Sox, who are called the Red Sox, not the Americans anymore, and then the New York Giants are going to take another turn. Hopefully they got some group therapy or something in the meantime. I'll see you in 1912. Like it and subscribe to it, please.